Hello everybody, how's it going today? Glowplasma here to talk about Kagurabachi chapter number 106. This chapter is titled Karma. And honestly, you know what I need to do real quick? I know the idea of karma. I actually don't know what karma means. So I'm actually going to go and look up what karma means on the internet. Oh, it brings me to Wikipedia and also a Taylor Swift music video, which I accidentally clicked on. So let me get out of that. Okay. Karma, from some form of Sanskrit that I'm not going to try to pronounce. It looks like it's kama, maybe, instead of like karma, but like there's no R in it, but I don't really know, is an ancient Indian concept that refers to an action, work, or deed and its effect or consequences. Of course, like the whole idea of like bad karma, I know at least in my area of the eastern United States currently, and North Carolina more specifically, we have had a lot of really bad ice, snow, and all of these other like big various storms recently. And of course, one of the big things is like, oh, you're driving on an icy road and like you're trying to drive slow on the highway because you have to be out, but you don't want to be. And somebody comes like blowing by you, like kicking up all of the snow and rain and all of that various stuff everywhere. And then like 2 miles later, you see him getting like pulled over by a cop. Like that is like one of the like most obvious like ideas of karma to me. Besides for the Assassination Classroom character named Karma, who, man, Matsui has written some great series, of course. I think I need to check out his first work, because I'm pretty sure it's psychological detective or supernatural detective, I think is what it is. And then, of course, Assassination Classroom, which I think is an amazing series. And really, to anybody who hasn't watched Assassination Classroom, I don't care if you stop watching this video. Go watch that series. Watch the anime adaptation because you will not regret it at the end of the day. And of course, his most current series is The Elusive Samurai, which I actually cover on my weekly Shonen Jump show. So all of that being said, karma is this idea of like consequences from an action. And most normally we look as negative karma, at least I think in our modern society, instead of like good karma or like benefits for doing something. I'm sure there's some ways that happens, but mainly whenever the word karma comes to my mind, I think about all of the bad things associated with it, right? And all of that to say, this chapter is titled Karma. And really just to hop into this chapter of Kagurabachi, because there's a lot of like honestly really awesome stuff in here. Let's first talk about what happened last time in Kagurabachi, where, oh my gosh, Yura disappeared, Akamura appeared, and that's sort of just where we are. Akamura used the Magatsumi's ability Butterfly and cut Samura Queen in half, along with a building and a bunch of other things. Samura isn't dead. We're going to be seeing him pretty quickly in this chapter. He sort of just like appears by pretty quickly. That also means like 13 pages in, but Samura is not dead. Of course, he is Suzaku. He is healing. Samura is making it out of this one alive, guys. I say this whenever I have read chapter number 110 of this series. Samura's making it out of this one, right? But either way, that was really the big thing to happen. At the very end of the chapter was Akamura coming up right next to Chihiro, the blade of the Magatsumi now ensheathed on Chihiro's neck. And he was just like, oh, how you've grown, Chihiro. And Chihiro was like, oh, no, right? But we start off this chapter number 106 in a flashback, as we see that one day Chihiro is sitting with sitting at the dinner table or breakfast table. He's sitting at the table in the kitchen where him and his father presumably eat food, you know what I'm saying? And we see the Kunishige sort of like sitting here looking at the goldfish bowl, of course, all three of the goldfish here in the moment. And Chihiro is just like sitting there. It looks like he's doing some homework. He's got a pencil in his hand and there's like a book open in front of him and like drink beverages and all that various stuff. And Chihiro is like, what was the sword master like? And his father just says like, oh, it's just like it says there. And we see the book that Chihiro is reading and possibly annotating is one about the Seitai War. Or at least that's what would make sense, because in the book, we see there's a passage about Akamura Soga. And Chihiro's just sitting here being like, I wanted to know about his personality and his relationship to my dad. But after all of that, I decided not to ask any more questions. As we see that Kunishige is just sitting here and staring at the fishbowl. And of course, what comes of that is the whole idea of like, hey, he's got this disrotten look on his face. Like, you can tell this is really weighing on Kunishige here in the moment. And it also just shows the very, like, great emotional, like, understanding that Chihiro has. We talked about this a little bit in depth on the Kagurabachi podcast that I'm on called the Kabnabi Headquarters. If I remember, I will put a link in the description box of this video, but if not, just type in the Kabnabi Headquarters on podcasting platforms, YouTube, and you're going to find a podcast pretty easily, right? But on our most recent episode, at least at the time of recording this video, we did do a little bit of a discussion about, like, how this just shows how, like, emotionally aware Chihiro is to be like, yeah, I'm not going to dig any further. I can tell this really is, like, my dad's not happy and doesn't want to talk about this subject. He's really distraught. And because of that, I'm just sort of going to put it and table it away pretty much, right? But at this point, we cut out of this flashback as we see Shiba, who is sitting on a park bench somewhere, or not park bench, he's sitting in like a train station, and he is just huffing and puffing as he's just sitting here. He's like, this energy, no, it can't be. Oh, he's too fast. It must be the Sword Master. As of course, we now look back over to where, Akamura just cut an entire building in half, and now the blade is right next to Chihiro's neck. And we get a story panel where we also get the title drop of the chapter 106, Karma, as Akamura is just standing here being, how you've grown, Chihiro. And it's a very cool shot, framed from the top down almost, but like not like just overhead, but like slightly tilted down so we can see a little bit of the characters' faces and all of this various idea. As Chihiro here in the moment is just like thinking like, oh, he knows my name. Even Mr. Samura and Mr. Aruha didn't know about me. And Akimura's like, all this time, I had a hazy sense of what was around the Shinichi. You were with your father all along, right? How come he never told you about me? And Chihiro is just quiet as Akamura says, I see, just tell me this. How much do you weigh? And Chihiro's like, what? And Akamura's like, your weight, like, just how much do you weigh? And Chihiro's like, 70 kilos. And Akamura says, well, around 3,860 grams. You know, I've known you since you were about this big. And Akamura just, like, motions his hands right in front of him, like a small child-sized, like, hand motion. And Chihiro looks over, like, a little bit of a shock on his face, as Akamura's like, yeah, I bought your bib. And Chihiro's just like, what? I love that thing. But, like, the big murderer bought it for me? Like, oh no, what is all of this? As Akamura just explains, like, hey, I'm your uncle, your mother's younger brother. And Chihiro's like, wait, uncle? As of course, here in the moment, we finally understand it through an official translation, or through the official Viz translation, that Akamura is indeed Kunishige's brother-in-law. I mean, there's been just like so much discourse about this in the manga sphere pretty much, or in the Kagurabachi thing of like Viz's translation and messing up some things like Magatsumi and male diction, getting the terms like messed up. And of course, the whole idea at the end of the day is like, who is Akamura in relation to Chihiro and Kunishige and all of this? And finally here, I mean, we knew it was brother-in-law, but this finally just like says it outright, and it has Akamura say it to Chihiro, who is really the most important person who needs to know about this relationship. As Akamura just says, well, let me ask you one question then. Why did your father seal away the enchanted blades? Of course, a question that he asked Samura last chapter, as Chihiro's just like, it's because they caused the malediction, and it was wrong. And Akamura just looks at him. Wrong? As Chihiro just starts up again like, hey, it was a massacre after peace had been achieved. The women and children were killed. And Akamura's like, so that's what my brother taught you. The children of Shokoku were of the same blood as the invaders, and they were indoctrinated with the same exact teachings. I simply killed our enemies. Well, it doesn't matter. It's only natural that people have different opinions on the matter, and hey, that's perfectly fine. But then he forged a new enchanted blade. Why, I wonder, as he looks down at the intent in Chihiro's hand, and Chihiro is just like looking back over at him, and there's a brief little bit of silence in between the two of them. As Chihiro's just like, to destroy the enchanted blades. And the panels are almost drawn as if the entire town goes silent for a minute, as Akamura eventually says, "I see." As then Chihiro just thinks in his mind, "At first, I was upset. Why didn't anyone tell me that I was related to the Swordmaster? But then it made sense. I'm glad I didn't know. This loathing, knowing that I was close to a mass murder I don't even remember. This revulsion when he treats me with a disgusting familiarity. None of these things matter now." As Akamura just sort of tries to break the silence, being like, "Well, I'm sorry to bombard you with the questions and all of that. The malediction was wrong, so I sealed up the enchanted blades, and this world is the result. Was that the correct choice?" As Chihiro just thinks, this bloodlust. He sheathed the sword several minutes ago, but my throat still feels cold. It's almost like if I move, I'm dead. I know it's not real, but that's how terrified I am. As Akamura just cuts back in, "No, it wasn't. The enchanted blades have a mission, to eradicate evil and protect the vulnerable. I must fulfill that mission." As he sort of just looks down at Chihiro and says, "Hey, the Sazanami, one of their descendants is in the Kabnabi headquarters. He has the same powers as their patriarch. He must be killed. Every member of that clan who governed the Rakuzaichi must be eradicated." As Chihiro is like, "Wait, Hakuri?" And he's like, "No, but Hakuri." As Soga just says, "Naturally, I will kill anyone who stands in the way. No exceptions. The evildoers must all be cold." And cold sweat is running down Chihiro's face. His best friend Hakuri is now targeted by Akamura. As suddenly a hand appears right in front of Akamura and pushes him away, as we are finally at page 12, where Samura walks into the scene. His eyes open and the flames of Suzaku burning around his body. As he pushes Akamura back, and Akamura just goes, "Wow, even with Suzaku, your healing powers just can't keep up, Samura. The power of the immortal phoenix. And yet, Samura, my blade can take your life." As Samura's like, "Hey, I know." As he grips the enchanted blade, the Tobimune, and gets ready with the EI White Purity style, as Soga does the same exact thing. And we get this amazing panel on the top of pages number 14 and 15, as the two of them just draw their blades and strike at each other. And they strike as the two of them both jump away here in the moment. Samura pulling back Chihiro with him, as he's like, "Hey, you okay?" And Chihiro's like, yeah, I am." As he noticed that Akamura matched Samura's EI. As we just get some narration saying, after all, Akamura chose not to practice the White Purity style only because he hated Itsuo Shirakai. He possessed ample talent to master it immediately. His skill with the swordplay is unparalleled. But as we just look at the Magatsumi, and of course the entire tip of the blade, as the narration continues, unsheathed, the Magatsumi has more than just 3 powers. As Samura just thinks, we have yet to see its true essence. As all of a sudden, all of the leaves on the trees around where Chihiro and Samura are standing start to wither and die out. As it's almost like an army of ants, centipedes, and all other manner of bugs and critters start crawling towards the tip of the enchanted blade, almost this essence and vitality roaming and stealing from everything else and coming towards the blade. As Samura just says to Chihiro, his ideology is too extreme. We have to stop him, or else we'll experience another tragedy like the malediction. And Chihiro's got this more determined look on his face now, grabbing the int and getting ready. As Akamura just says, "Chihiro, stop." And Chihiro's then just like grits his teeth like, no, I won't stop. As he just thinks, standing before me is the reason Kunishige Rokuhira sealed away the enchanted blades. The reason he wanted to destroy them. As we just see Akamura here, levitating off the ground, centipedes swirling around him in the air as he and the blade levitate off the ground. And Chihiro just thinks, as the one who bears the intent, I have to face him. And Chihiro starts to draw the intent, water droplets all around him, and he just says, I also have a mission to fulfill. And that's where we end this chapter of Kagurabachi, number 106. Now, I'm not going to say this was my favorite Kagurabachi chapter of all time. I definitely think there was a lot of really awesome and really good in here, but really this was more characterization for the Swordmaster, understanding that he is a little goofy. Akamura is just like, he's a little weird, like, I knew you since you were this big, I bought your bib, Chihiro, and also learning that he can sort of sense around the Magatsumi. And along with that, Chihiro finally learning the crucial information that, hey, we're related to each other. Of course, something we as the audience have known for a little while, but something that Chihiro is now just learning in chapter number 106. And that's honestly an insanely big deal to be learning that now for our main villain, and really gives me a lot of hope that Kagurabachi has a lot of time left in the burners, so to say, right? But really, there's just not too much I want to talk about at the end of this chapter. It was good. I enjoyed it. I'm ready to talk about the fight that everybody's getting ready to have, but that's really just all I have to say. I love Chihiro coming at the beginning of the chapter and being like, I don't think I'm going to be able to move, like I'm really scared of this guy, to eventually coming around to the point, I've got no other choice. This is the man who scared my father so much. I have to deal with him because I wield the intent. Great story we got here, and yeah, I absolutely love it. And with all of that being said, if you guys did enjoy this video on Kagurabachi chapter number 106, I've been covering the Kagurabachi manga since like chapter number 44, so go check out my YouTube channel at Glowplasma for all of those videos there. That playlist will also be linked in the description box of this video and on the end card of this YouTube video as well. I'm also posting these on podcasting platforms now under a podcast called Glowplasma Talks. It's going to be all of the other Glowplasma videos that aren't part of the Weekly Shonen Jump, Parking Lot Manga, or any other podcast series I may start at some point, so if you want to listen to these on other platforms, go check it out there. And yeah, with all of that being said, I'll catch you guys next time for chapter number 107 of Kagurabachi. Again, this one was titled Karma. And as we learned, karma is the effect and consequences of things. And I guess we're talking about like the consequence of the malediction, maybe. I don't know. Karma, I don't think is the best chapter title here, but also I'm sure Hokuzono had some deeper meaning for it that I, as some random 20-year-old in college, just can't feasibly wrap my mind around. But for all of that being said, I'll catch you guys next time. This will be Glowplasma, signing out.